back to the court and start playing again?
I think the players are. I could practice forever. So I like it when we have a little bit of break. We can get back to us. We can work on some things. We don't really have to worry so much about load. But I am sure they're ready to get back on the floor.
What's the number one thing that has kind of been the focus this week?
Pressure. Making sure that our pressure is where it needs to be, and shot selection has been, and talking on offense, making sure that we're aware of who our open shooters are. I think we're missing a lot of people that are open.
What have they shown you this week after 3 straight losses, and the way they're carrying themselves and the way they're responding and, attempting to prepare for the next game?
They've responded really well. Let's just see if we can keep it up.
What have you liked about Talasia, just her response in practice after having 2 of her lowest accuracy games shooting-wise?
And she's been great in practice. She came to film, she was talking in film, she was vocal in film, and she's had 2 of her best practices.
How optimistic are you about rebounding? Because you obviously had probably your best defensive box-out game.
I'm not really an optimistic person, but they showed that they can do it, and that's something we talked about after the game. Is you showed that you can do it, so we got to continue to build on that.
Have you seen that be better in practice? I know you've talked about it all season long, but have you really seen it the last week or two
We have.
in practice?
We have. Our practice guys are back, and so that's nice. They've been gone for about a month and a half, and so to have our guys back has been huge for us.
How does practice change with them gone?
Oh, it's so much better with them here. It's fast. Pace is faster. It's more physical. We can really work on rebounding. It's more competitive. Our players get more break just because they take less reps, so their reps are just better. So our practice team is huge.
How would you evaluate where this team is mid-part of SEC play compared to where you would have wanted them to be when you guys first started the season?
It's hard. We find new problems every day, but I think that's your job as a coach. I do think we're getting better. It's just not necessarily translating because our schedule has been so top-heavy. And so hopefully we can just continue to stay the course.
How do you get that through to the players that they are getting better, but it's just not showing up in games?
Yeah, I think you just show it. I mean, we showed a lot of good clips from our South Carolina game. There was a lot of bad ones. There's probably an hour and a half of bad ones, but there were some good ones that we can build upon. We were running in transition a little bit better. We're rebounding better. And so just making sure that they see that too.
You mentioned the improvements you're seeing. You said after Vanderbilt, we're either not good enough to fix or we don't think it matters. Just where do you stand kind of on that question now after the last couple games?
Yeah, I think it's probably still somewhere in the middle, and just making sure that we have a focused effort, and that if we aren't getting the rebound or we aren't doing it the right way, we are at least trying to. We're at least in position, and if we're getting out jumped, we're getting pushed around, then maybe we're not strong enough, but at least we're in position.
Building off of that, how much do you think that maybe is a self-discipline issue on the court?
Yeah, I think it's all probably self-discipline, and I think it just kind of comes back to coaching. I mean, that's my job to teach them. It's my job to show them. It's my job to make sure that that's ingrained in them.
How important is this Missouri game considering the 2 tough games before it and then the 2 tough games that come after it?
Yeah, this game is huge. They're significantly better than their record. It's a tough place to play on the road, and making sure that we kind of get back to our roots when we do what we do.
Missouri can definitely be a trap game on the road, and especially with them getting their first SEC win over Mississippi State, playing well against Texas.
Played great against Texas.
Just what are you expecting Sunday, and how big of a challenge could they be?
I think they're a huge challenge. I don't like the fact that it's on the road. I don't like the fact that maybe you look at their record and you think it's easy, because it's not. It's a really good team, and they're playing very well right now. So just making sure they're hard to guard. So we have to really work on our defense today in practice, making sure that we can guard them. And we're going to see a lot of different defenses, and making sure that we're ready for everything.
Some of the lowest scoring games that you guys have had kind of in these last 4-game stretch. If that continues, what about your system can still thrive without a high scoring offense in the upper 80s and upper 90s?
Yeah, I think that's kind of what we were talking about. We want to get back to our pressure, to where we're creating turnovers and we're scoring off of them. It's easy points. So where your defense creates your offense for you, and just running in transition downhill a little bit more.
From a pressure standpoint, is that some fundamentals? Is that effort?
I think it's mindset. It might be a little bit of conditioning, but hey, let's just go. Just make your rotations, be ready to go. Don't be timid at the top of the press.
Kind of going off that, do you feel like also played into playing teams like South Carolina, LSU? Did you feel like that also made it harder to get that pressure, or do you feel like it was more on you guys?
I think a little bit of both. I think we saw, against Texas, they saw success early. Against South Carolina, when we pressured, we saw success, and then we just kind of go away from it. I think LSU might have been a different story. I think Florida State might have been a different story. Other than that, I think when we were up and we were getting rotations and we were pressuring the ball, we did see success.
What stands out to you about Grace Slaughter when it comes to her offensive game?
Yeah, she's tough. We're going to have somebody that can keep her in front. She has the ability to take over a game, and they're very well balanced to where it doesn't have to all come from her, but she can certainly put them on her back.
Do you feel any different? Like, I don't know if you've ever had a 3-game losing streak in your
I have
head
not.
coaching career. Yeah. So does it feel different coming into work with that? Or?
It doesn't, and I think that that is just the gauntlet of what the SEC is. If you're losing these games and you're still going up in the net, and it's kind of hard to wrap your head around that. Of hey, these teams are keeping them close, and you're building off of that. It's not great. I am proud of how they have responded, and we're right there, and our practices are important.
What have you had to change coaching-wise, just talking to them, giving them advice with it being a 3-game losing streak, since you've never had to experience that before? What's the difference in how you coach through that?
Yeah, we just teach it the same. We're just trying to learn, just taking kind of emotion and feeling and looking at stats and looking at everything else, just trying to learn. And again, I think their response has been good.
How's SEC play lived up to kind of what you heard going into the season and just, I guess, the gauntlet of it all?
Yeah, it's living up to it. Textbook. It's a tough league. You have to show up every single night. There are no days off. When we're going on the road, it's a big game for us. We got to take care of business.
How much do you lean on these veterans, especially through this stretch, to kind of not get down through the 3-game loss?
Yeah, I think it's big. I think that anytime you have seniors that are goal-oriented and want to win, they kind of can put what happened in the past behind them and just try to get better.
The news from Nashville yesterday, possibly getting a WNBA team, just how cool is that for you to be now part of this Tennessee basketball family?
I think it would be amazing. I think it would be amazing for our game, amazing for the student athletes that come here and can kind of stay local if they want to go pro.
You said Sunday that you had some players sick or players recovered, getting healthy again.
Yeah, we're healthy, which is good. Knock on wood.
Talking about wanting to have your players lead by example, I saw Samara Spencer was putting up shots after the game the other day. How has that maybe translated in practice and her attitude and how she's feeling?
It just shows that it matters. It shows that she's not okay with the loss. She's not okay with how she played, and she wants to fix it. And we had that talk maybe after our Oklahoma game, our first loss, of how many of you guys got in the gym the next day and shot, and not very many people raised their hands. And I said, that's not what championship teams do. And for her to pick up on that and listen to that and do it right after the game speaks volumes.
Halfway through this SEC stretch, like, personally, I feel like you are a little bit more comfortable doing this than you were at the start of the SEC play. Like, how have you felt dealing with all the off-court stuff right now as opposed to when the season started?
I would still rather be on the floor. Maybe I'm just fooling you guys a little bit, but no, it's still not my favorite part.
All right, thank you, Coach.
Thank you guys.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.